So I've been putting this one off long enough, so I might as well just do it. The top 5 head coaches in the NBA. And part of the reason why I've never wanted to do this is because, like, there's 30 coaches. I don't have a book that tells me everything about every single head coach, but at the same time, I think I have a decent idea of who I like, who I don't like, and whatever. So, top 5 head coaches in the NBA. Number 5 and 4, really close. I can't say which one's better than the other, so I'll just name the 2. I would say Doc Rivers of the Clippers, Mike Budenholzer of the Atlanta Hawks. Now, Doc Rivers, in my opinion, for a while, all he had going for him was he was a master motivator, he was a pretty good defensive mind, and he was decent at drawing up out-of-bounds plays. Besides that, I thought his X's and O's on offense were basic, to be honest. I mean, I think we all remember his go-to play in fourth quarters was Paul Pierce isolations at the top of the key. But he's gotten better with the Clippers. They do run horn sets, they run off-ball things, and I think Doc Rivers' X and O game on the offensive side of the floor has improved up to the point that when you combine it with his defense as well as his just ability to get guys to care, I do think Doc has become a top 5 coach in the league. Budenholzer, if we're comparing just sheer X's and O's between Doc and Bud, I would think Coach Bud is better. No one thought they were going to win as many games as they did, but I don't know. I can't say Coach Bud is better than any of the guys in the top 3 head coaches right now. Of course, he does come from Popovich, so just the ability to use every one of his guys as a weapon. Of course, his Atlanta Hawks did fall off the rails towards the end of the season and into the playoffs. Part of that was because of injury or whatever the hell happened to like Thabo Sefolosha and all that. But you can't discredit how well the Hawks played last year, and a lot of that was because of Coach Bud, because, I mean, as it's already been said, the Atlanta Hawks didn't have like a sheer superstar on their team. Well, so yeah. I mean, Coach Bud, very good head coach. I could see him ascending this list, but as of right now, number 5, number 4 right there. Number 3, Steve Kerr. And with Steve Kerr, I think that Golden State team, the year before, they won 51 games, I believe, and lost in the first round to the Clippers. And going into this season, or this previous season, I don't think anybody thought the Warriors were going to be better than the 4th seed in the West. But, lo and behold, Steve Kerr's ability to take Mark Jackson's very basic offense and turn it into one where we see Klay Thompson running around screens, Steph Curry playing off ball, spreading the floor with shooters, sometimes having Draymond Green play center. All these things combined, I think, make Steve Kerr the 3rd best head coach in the NBA. And of course, we remember in the NBA Finals, Kerr going completely small against the Cavaliers and basically just running them out of the building. Like, it's those kind of adjustments because, like I mentioned, the expectations for that Warriors team, I mean, if anyone said they were going to win the finals, like, you know, so. Number 2, and weirdly enough, I think this guy is sometimes underrated, Rick Carlisle. I mean, Carlisle's offense is, it's a bit different. And it does require his guys to be able to shoot. But with Carlisle, the handoffs and pick and rolls that involve Dirk Nowitzki, they're basically impossible to defend if Dirk is on, especially when previously it was with Monte Ellis, which might not be as effective now with Wesley Matthews, but when it was with Monte Ellis, that was a fantastic 1-2 punch between him and Dirk. And just with Carlisle, his offense is a lot of movement. It's normally you get the ball, you pass, then you run along the baseline or whatever, just resulting in open shots all the time. And also with Carlisle, we of course remember the 2011 NBA Finals, choosing to go with a zone defense to defeat the Miami Heat, who were much more athletic than that Mavericks team. I mean, Carlisle, he's been doing it for a long time, and it's just, I think he's the 2nd best head coach in the league. There you go. Number 1 is, of course, Popovich. He's been at this for over a decade now with the San Antonio Spurs. 5 championships. And I think the most recent championship team That's probably the best offensive team I've ever seen in the NBA. Now granted, I haven't been watching the NBA as long as you guys might think I have been. But Popovich, I mean, it's just crazy what that Spurs team was able to do. The passing of that team, I mean, the way they just took apart the Miami Heat, it was great. I mean, I don't need to dive into Popovich too much. Some other head coaches that I considered, the first one would probably be Stan Van Gundy. And Stan Van, fantastic head coach for what he did in Orlando, making them one of the better defensive teams in the league, as well as his ability to create a system through three-point shooting and a big man inside the paint. I would also say Terry Stotts has been underrated for a while in Portland. His execution is always really good, and his offense is normally dominated by the pick and roll, so it'll be interesting to see what he does now that he doesn't have LaMarcus Aldridge. But Stotts, especially in fourth quarters, just his ability to draw up a solid, good play has always been really, really impressive. And of course, I mean, that Portland team, they made a jump from 32 wins to being like the 4th seed in the Western Conference. That's a hell of an accomplishment. Jason Kidd, as well as Brad Stevens, I think, could end up becoming a part of the top 5 head coaches. Jason Kidd, I mean, that situation in Brooklyn, that was, I mean, it was what it was, you know. But in Milwaukee, he's already got the Bucks as a really quality defensive team, and their pick and roll defense is really something. I just think he's got some developing to do with that roster. Michael Carter-Williams, Giannis, they've got to get their jump shots down, but Jason Kidd's defense, his play calling, it's already really good. Brad Stevens, Brad Stevens has the potential to be the best coach in the NBA because of his adjustments mid-game, play calling, choosing to have Evan Turner run point guard, things that other coaches would just not consider. Brad Stevens goes, yeah, let's think of this. Like, he makes Jonas Jerebko and Kelly Olynyk look like Sam Perkins. So, I mean, Brad Stevens' play calling, already one of the better ones in the league, but I can't put him top 5 based on what's been happening with the Celtics. You just can't do it, you know? But I think Stevens and Kidd are great. For a while, I really liked Jeff Hornacek in the first season, getting the Phoenix Suns to, 47, 48 wins or whatever, basically capping out that roster. I didn't think Hornacek was that great last year. The sets he was running, and that Phoenix team is definitely on the way down. I mean, now they're gonna end up losing Markieff Morris. They already traded away Marcus. I don't think that Phoenix team is gonna be much this season. Any other head coaches? Some other ones. Eric Spoelstra. I mean, look, Spo's cool, but is he really that good? Like, I don't think so. Frank Vogel is a very good head coach, and I could see him, depending on the team he has, I could see him having a real impact, but I don't know. It's tough, man. It's tough to make top 5. It just is. George Karl's another one who, pretty close to top 5. I think with Karl, if we're going by what he did with the Seattle Supersonics way back when, okay, but that was a while ago. If we look at what he did with the Denver Nuggets, he did a decent job. He's a very, very, very good offensive head coach. His defense, it's not as good, is the best way to put it. And, I mean, he had that Nuggets team up to the 2 seed one season, and they lost in the first round of the Warriors, so I don't know. Karl's good, but